An elven warrior trapped on modern-day Earth. Two friends with different destinies meet at a magical school. These are some of the stories we at Electric Lips Comics are working on. You can get your copies of both The Mana Chronicles and Tales of Itherel at elpmerch.com. Support independent creators. Explore the merch featuring exciting ELP Comics art with a wide range of designs. Electric Lips Comics. Imagination electrified.
All right. Well, welcome back, Oil Runners. This is Christinall.love, your host. We're back again. This is our second live today, which we got another one coming up right after this one, too. So we have a treat with Mr. Gabe Cymbalista. But first, we want to acknowledge the sponsors. And he got on me earlier because I kept saying ELP instead of ELP. So Ian, this is for you. It's elpmerch.com. Electric Lips Comics. We thank you. Thank you for sponsorshipping. And we ask you to go and check out his merchandise. You just seen his sponsor video or his video for his website. So please go check that out. Also, we thank you to Michael W. Rogers Photography, which we will have him on next, actually. And his website is michaelwrogersphoto.com. So if you go check him out, go wake him up because he is taking a nap at this second. So please wake him up and go check him out. He is in Las Vegas and he's willing to travel to make sure that you get your photography done. Okay. So today we have a treat. We are going into the mind of Mr. Gabe. And
oh God, that sounds scary.
Yeah, right. It's okay. But from what you were telling me, there's a lot to dig into and that people need to know about, on different things, and especially with children who go through what you go through, and maybe you got some nuggets to help them out, and because you seem a little bit more confident than a lot of people.
Took me years to get that way, though. Took a long time.
I bet. So you were saying that you were dealing with Tourette's. How's that been in life?
Just note that's a tic, and anybody who's watching. I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I am not Tourette's, but I have Tourette's. It should never be a defining thing for somebody who has it.
Right.
It's an obstacle, like anybody has an obstacle. Somebody has ADHD, somebody has cerebral palsy, somebody is autism, somebody broken arm and they have to recover and they deal with the aftermath of that or whatever, whether their arm will never be the same or they had surgery and they'll forever have a scar. Some scars come in different forms. For me, my scars are physical and emotional, but luckily I've never had a serious surgery where I've had to have, I feel like scars are badass, but my scars are more emotional and due to my disability, but also my disability has affected me. My Tourette's has affected me in a lot of ways that are not direct, meaning, Tourette's is obviously, okay, Tourette's is neurological. Obviously neurological usually means, for me at least, Tourette's is a physical disability, but usually Tourette's comes as a package deal, as we say, package deal,
right,
where it comes with, for some people it comes with autism, for some people it comes with ADHD, for some people it comes with depression and anxiety. For me, it's depression and anxiety. And it's a very heavy load on me. And, I was diagnosed at 7. I showed symptoms when I was 6. It's actually hereditary. And my mother has a much milder case of it. And, when I was young, I switched from an all-boys Jewish school, yeshiva, to a special needs BOCI school, because my school at the time didn't know how to deal with certain disabilities, and a lot of schools still don't. But luckily, I went to school where it's more equipped to deal with it. and people, with other disabilities and behavioral issues, and not that I had behavioral issues, but like, issues that, the school was equipped to deal with. And same thing for high school. I went to a private school, which was more equipped for these type of things. And it affects you miss out on a normal childhood. For some kids do. When your initial school, or when you're in an environment that doesn't know how to incorporate people with certain disabilities, or disabilities that are not as well known or not as known to people, it can be very overwhelming for the person that's battling that disability, that lives with that disability, that when, the parents are struggling to find the right doctor, the right treatments. And for any child, anybody with Tourette's who was diagnosed at a young age, puberty is a hellish time for kids with Tourette's. And when your body's going through changes, your body's changing. And I know people who have kids. I know people who, when I was, who are older now, but when they were that age, they were going through hell. And I went through hell. I still go through hell. But it's been better. It's tics evolve too. When I was younger, it started as verbal tics. In first grade, in fifth grade, it evolved in like absolute, like the turn of a knob, like a note, whatever you want to call it, like literally, like a switch went off, and my body went from verbal tics, like high pitched verbal tics, which I didn't necessarily consider being bullied in third grade, because, or that age range, because kids don't understand, so they yell at me, "Oh, stop it! You can stop the sounds, annoying." But you know what? They're not being bullies. They just don't understand. You can hold them accountable if they bully you, or if they physically hurt you. But a kid's being bothered by a sound, they're not old enough to comprehend it. So I wouldn't consider that bullying. If somebody's like really physically hurting you, or emotionally scarring you for, like knowing that you can't help it and guilting you for it, that's another story. That's bullying.
Absolutely, yeah.
It wasn't until fifth grade that my verbal tics, which are still here, as you can tell, and now comes more in the forms of coughing and laughing tics and other sounds. In fifth grade, I went from just verbal tics to full body tics. It would look like I'd have a seizure on the floor. I would kick and punch desks in school. I had to be homeschooled for 5 months. It was very difficult. I eventually left that school and went to a BOCES school for middle school, which was more equipped for this stuff. They had a padded room for children with behavioral issues. So whenever my body tics would kick in, they would put me in the padded room to let out the tics. So, so I don't hurt anybody and I don't hurt myself. I didn't really meet many people, or just about anybody else with Tourette's, until I was in high school, my high school years. And that actually was through a job. Or actually, it was after high school. That was through a job that I got before I even started college. And I was not even going to go to college. Because of my disabilities, I went to some vocational testing thing that said, "Oh, you're not college material. You'll never succeed in college. It's not for you." And I went to Nassau Community. I got on the dean's list, Phi Theta Kappa, cum laude, honors, and I proved them wrong. And then I went to Queens College. I went to Nassau Community College, then I went to Queens College, and I got on the dean's list again. And I got 2 scholarships. I got, I think, 1 or 2 in Nassau, or 1 in Nassau. And I proved them wrong again. And then I went to School of Visual Arts, and they said, "Oh," and even during all this, they said, like, my goal always was to work in the film industry. I loved film since I was a young kid, actually horror movies, but I grew up on the classics, like the black and white ones. And I always wanted to work in that. There was a point where I wanted to be a professional pianist. I mean, I've been playing piano since I took lessons since I was 8. I stopped after 15 years, but I've been teaching myself since. I wanted to take lessons since I was 5. haven't taken lessons in 14 years, but I still teach myself all the time or when I have time. And though I'm not a professional pianist, I still play, I play well. Like people say, oh, he's a professional pianist, he's a concert pianist. I play well. I've been playing for 29 years since I was 8. I'm 37 now. And I play well, but I'm not at the level where I could ever be a professional pianist. But I do play to help myself. I play to entertain others. I play to bring joy to others. I have stories like that I will tell. But, this organization I went to that said you'll never succeed in the film industry, it's not realistic. They're trying to help me get into the field I want to get into while condescending my ability and my will to get into it and doubting it. And this is all while I'm in college in the process of reaching my goal. And this is after I already had a production job before I even went to college. I've had more experience at a younger age than a lot of people did who later on learned the skills. I'm not the best at, editing and videography and photography, but I'm well versed in it. And I've been working, in the film industry now for a few years. And I worked on a number of films. One feature I edited that is actually now on Tubi. It's called Horror Able. I want to thank my director Cindy Sanabria, who gave me the opportunity to edit these the 2 documentaries, the short of Horror Able, which is Horror Able Women. It was strictly interviews with women, and the feature, which is both men and women. It's a series of interviews with filmmakers and actors with disabilities in the horror film industry. And it's for the purpose of bringing an awareness to a lack of representation and a lack of accessibility for filmmakers and actors and people in the film industry with disabilities. I've been very blessed, thankfully. I've had my obstacles. I've had people who didn't understand or didn't use me to my full potential or wasted my time. But you know what? I'm not gonna bad talk those people. I've learned that, like, if there's somebody doing something wrong now, and somebody needs to speak up about it, and nobody is, I'll speak up about it. But I'll always make an effort to apologize and make things right if I did something wrong. But I'm not going to go back in time and trash talk somebody because they made a poor judgment or they didn't use my full potential. Yes, I've been bullied. Yes, I've been provoked and gaslighted, and that still bothers me. I still do get gaslighted, and I'm unfortunately bullied even since I was from the time I was 5 all the way till now. But for different reasons. And I can't stand bullying, and it's one of the reasons why whenever I do something wrong, even let's say I'm having an argument at the table with my family, and I feel like I made a point that needed to be made that isn't processing in people's minds. And let's say it even upsets my mother. I feel that it's good that I got my point across, but you know what? Even though I'm glad I got my point across, it had to be said. I still feel remorse for upsetting somebody else. And you know what? That's what makes us human. For people who gleefully and shamelessly get off on hurting other people, that is in unforgivable and immeasurable, not immeasurable, not unforgivable, but I like that is that's the type of stuff that's really hard to forgive. But I'm all about forgiveness, and I have to learn to forgive myself as well as the other people who've hurt me. And honestly, I'll be honest, I was bullied even before I was diagnosed with Tourette's. When I was in 5-year-old kindergarten, I was not just bullied by the class, my entire kindergarten class. I was the teachers provoked the class to pick on me. And I didn't find out till I was in high school that those teachers picked a kid every year to pick on. And that year I was that boy, and I didn't open up about it till years later. And one of the things that happened to me in that classroom was I was molested by one of my assistant teachers when I was 5 years old. And and I didn't open up about it till I was in high school. and the teacher got away with bullying kids for years, both of them, and they never got held accountable. And that's one of the reasons I'm so prone to speaking up about accountability that I witness, or lack of accountability to be more accurate, in areas where I see a lack of it. And I live in a very Jewish neighborhood where, as a Jew, I'm raised to believe my people are the chosen people. My points of view on this has fluctuated a lot in different directions. But you know what? I hold my people to a higher standard because I was taught to put them on a pedestal. So when people I'm taught are supposedly the chosen people do something wrong and don't take accountability, I feel obligated to say something, because a lot of people don't speak up and a lot of people don't say anything. And the problem is, in a lot of things, in at least right-wing Judaism, if somehow calling out accountability is somehow the equivalent of anti-Semitism. Yes, there's anti-Semitism, but calling out somebody's accountability is not the same as anti-Semitism. And people guilt me as like, oh, you're a self-hating Jew. No, I just wish people would take accountability, if not being held accountable for the way they treat others or talk about others. Because I was raised to believe something highly of these people, and that's why I hold them to a higher standard. But that's I don't want to go into that, but like, that's why I'm very sensitive. And I'm very easily upset by sometimes even small things. Thankfully, I have a lot of outlets. I have listening to music, I have playing piano, I have watching movies, I have working, which I do very often. Thankfully, I'm very blessed to have a lot of gigs, even stuff that's not film-based, it's production-based. So I have a friend I used to work with at my first production job years ago, who I've worked with on a number of productions, or even for school and fundraiser charities, a lot over the years. And I'm very blessed to have done that, in addition to have worked on films about disabilities, these documentaries, horror-able and horror-able women. I also acted in a feature that director Cindy Sanabria made called, it's coming out hopefully next year, Merciless Christmas. It's a holiday horror film, and I acted in it. I don't usually act, but it's the second film of course I act. Holiday horror film.
That's different. That's a different one. A holiday horror film.
Oh, there's a lot of them. My friends, David Howard Thornton and Damian Leone and Steve Barton and Michael Levy and Marcus Levine, they all worked on this movie called the Terrifier movies. Some of them worked on them more than others, and they just had the third one, which was the #1 movie in America recently. And it was one of the most controversial films ever made, and it was a holiday horror film. And it actually, like the second one, people went into theaters and came out on a hospital bed, or they fainted, or they threw up, because it was the second and third one were so disturbing that they had to call the EMTs on people in the theaters, or people were getting sick, that they even made licensed vomit bags for the fans because of that. So holiday horror has become a big thing with horror fans. And I'm honored to act in one with one of the stars of The Exorcist, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have a small role, but I enjoy it. I've been editing. I edited. I'm waiting on the revisions. A true crime thriller I shot from my director Cindy in Florida, called Sam's Web, about America's most prolific Black serial killer. A man who killed over 90 women, and there are still dozens of those women who have not been found. So we're hoping this film brings awareness to that, and that we make a feature that hopefully somehow will these families who've never been, their daughters have never been found, and they maybe they could put their daughters to rest. And so I always like working on films with a bigger meaning. So and I'm going to be working with more films with Cindy, and I also want to thank my friend Aryeh Sobel, who I've been working on films with for a long time. Not films, productions with, since the one who I do all these charity and charity work and or charity video, not charity work, but charity videos for charities and for schools and camps for organizations that have a good cause. So I want to thank him too. And I want to thank everybody. You know, I usually don't do this, but I just want everybody who's ever had an impact on my life, negative and positive, to know I thank you, because I'm grateful even for my bullies, because they helped shape me who I am, and my Tourette's helped shape me who I am. And I would be a completely different person without my Tourette's. And there are even people who used to be close friends of mine who are no longer my friends that I would not be here today without. So I'm, regardless how they feel about me now or how I feel about them for how they treated me, I am grateful for them, because there were times some of these people were the only people in my life that believed in me or were by my side. So I try not to let pain and anger and even hate that occurred to prevent me from being grateful from the people that were there for me when nobody else was. I'm gonna start crying. So yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I've been talking a lot, so let you ask some questions. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. It seemed like you needed to let that out. That was definitely a necessary thing.
Yeah, I usually do interviewing on my podcast, so I'm not used to letting out my own stuff. And I will, just one other thing I want to mention in regards to that. I've been writing a book on Tourette's for the last 12 years. I finished the first draft in 2016, 4 years after I started it, but I've barely edited since. And I actually recently started editing the second draft in the last 3 days, more than I have in 8 years.
Wow. Well, I guess it's time now, huh?
I really need to push myself to work on this book, because I've slacked immensely. Hold on a second. I gotta, my charger isn't working, and I gotta, hold on. Oh, my charger wasn't working. There we go. And it's important that this book gets out there. It's a memoir from my experiences to help people with not just Tourette's, but any type of disability, hardship, like struggle with everything from a screwed up childhood, when you feel like you were robbed of experiences in your life, dealing with girls and not having the confidence until a certain age, dealing with the disability in experiences and with people that don't understand it, and just people who go through, anybody who goes through any sort of hell, whether it be a disability or not. I want this book to reach people and make a difference in people's lives, regardless of what their obstacle is, because I'm trying to turn my my curse into a gift, and have my story can reach to a wide array of people in a variety of ways. So that hope that I almost lost almost or like almost felt hopeless, or the will to live that I lost, or the many times, or the fear of not achieving the one thing that you really wanted in life. And yeah, I want to reassure people that nothing is impossible. Well, almost nothing, obviously, but there's a lot more that's possible than we realize. I don't want to say nothing is impossible, because we're not going to be able to fly off a building with our arms. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to achieving goals, nothing is impossible. And if you watch the documentary I edited, Horror Able, which is on Tubi now, and I'm very grateful that Cindy had me on this, because it shows that you have people who are paraplegics and quadriplegics, autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, all these people who have all these issues that held them back, and they've made films, they've acted, they've become some of them more successful filmmakers than others. And it shows that you could not be able to move any of your four of your limbs and still be able to do what you love. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally believe in that. I got disabilities myself, so I completely understand. Well,
if you don't mind me asking, if you're comfortable with
oh yeah, no, I'm comfortable. I'm not sure about Tourette's. I'm working on that one because I've noticed some things, and I found it quite interesting that you were saying that like anxiety and depression
Yeah.
kind of it links to it, and I was like, all right, maybe I really need to go into that and figure that out. Because there are some things that even my dog's like, what the heck did you just do? Like, random stuff. But I have the anxiety, depression, autistic, and ADHD,
You're very
and
high functioning, though. You're very high functioning autism. Yeah. You don't. Yeah,
yeah,
I wouldn't have been able to tell.
yeah. I'm I wouldn't say weird because no, I mean we're all different, but
I was just editing a
I
chapter in my book about that weird is new norm, and that like there is no
yeah,
normal, but like what one person considers normal is not normal to somebody else. So I can't stand the labels of weird and normal, but I honestly just say
yeah,
weird is the new norm because so
yeah,
many differences that there's no normal. There is no normal. There's your own normal.
yeah, and to be gaslit, to be like I hate having to feel like I have to be perfect outside the door of my own home, you know,
Yeah.
and because of getting gaslit and have to be told, oh, you have to be this way and you have to be that way in order to be functioning in society and all kinds of stuff. And then when you do it, I feel lost. It's like, that's
Yeah.
not me, like I really feel so not fake, but I feel like it's a fake um, persona in a way. Like, can't I just sit here and just chill without you making me feel like I have to be happy all the time, or I have to do this all the time, or so it's just like, ugh. So yeah, and then dealing with the abuse of things while you're trying to heal in some area, and then in a way it's a lonely place at this point. but hearing your story actually helped me feel not alone, honestly. um
I've been guilted for as
because
little as. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, no, oh no, go for it,
No, no, no. No, you were in the middle of a thought. I'm sorry.
oh, well, the thought left. It'll come back probably somewhere.
No, just you had me like just thinking, and when things you were saying about being gaslit for the stupidest things, like I've been guilted for my favorite genre of movies, which is horror. I've been guilted for liking soda too much,
Yeah,
or
right.
liking the stupidest little things, and I've been so heavily guilted by my friends and family, and it's affected me over the years that like if I wasn't guilted for the stupidest little things under the sun for so many years, my anxiety would not be at the level it is today. Neither would my depression.
Ex-
And
exactly.
I have to forgive the people, my friends and family, who were guilty of doing that to me. But I will never forget that a lot of these people who are close to me and you know what? There are things they never, I don't think they ever verbally apologized for so many of the things they've done. They've guilted me for doing nothing wrong, for simply being
Right.
me. And I have friends who I wish would voice themselves. I have family who I wish would voice themselves and apologize and acknowledge things, but because that would be a huge load off my back. But what am I going to do? It shouldn't have to take me to say something to them for them to realize. If they can't realize themselves, that's a problem with them. But like the fact that somebody is gaslit and guilted and provoked for having interests and loving things that are not hurting anyone by the same people. Like
Right.
I know people who literally advocate for murderers and rapists and what's it called, like people who are criminals in politics and would guilt like characters in movies that I like, but when they advocate for people in politics and in like places of authority, when I were to guilt them, like, oh, no, like that's not real. They're all in denial. but like it's like they're more bothered by me liking a character in a movie that they view as a murderer, yet they will advocate for murderers and murderous governments and murderous and like monstrous politicians in real life. Like how could you be bothered more by a character in a movie than a character in real life, when the one in real life is obviously guilty, and you hear them say the things they say, but because of your prejudice and bias, you completely dismiss it. And I'm not getting into specifics because the last thing I need one is to get into politics and religion on here. But like it's crazy how ignorant people are to their own ignorance, and they can't process. Like you say it to them, and they can't process logic because it doesn't appeal to their bias. Not even bias, their prejudice.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree on that, because I had to grow up watching the same people treat me like hell, right? And I didn't know I had all this stuff back then, so now I'm angry. Technically, I got over it a little bit, but looking back then, I'm like, what? But I had to watch them treat people with practically the same disabilities, and teach other people how to treat people great. And I'm like, but you guys treated me like crap, and yes, still do. Like, and it's like, really, what did you do? And that accountability, the more you say something, the less they hear it, the less they they don't want to. And it is a hard, and then it'll create more depression, because it's the ones that supposedly love you, or they supposedly are there for you, and it's hard to break away from that situation, because now you're by yourself, and all that stuff. It's a very vicious cycle, and I don't want to have any. And next year, I'm just trying to not have how they feel is not going to be my responsibility. That's how I'm going to go into that. I will have responsibility on how I treat and act with others. But at this point, I'm just trying to be me. I never was allowed. I was never socialized properly or whatever. And so now I'm learning it.
Yeah. Were you also like guilted for your reaction to other people's actions?
Yes, that was horrible.
That is my entire life, is being guilted for my reaction to other people's actions, and having to go to therapy to change the way I react to other people's selfish actions and cruelty and evil-mindedness and racism and hatred, because the way I react is to be guilted, but they're like evil and disgusting prejudice points of view are to be dismissed because they're older than me, or because they're more religious, or because they live in a certain area where they're allowed to speak about it, but I'm not, because I don't. It's just like, I'll be honest with you, and I want to tell you this. In Judaism, there's this thing called lashon hara, talking bad about somebody. But it's not the same as holding somebody accountable. Lashon hara means like talking bad about somebody behind their back, which has happened. People talk bad about me behind my back all the time, and I've listened to people talk to me and know they're lying and have to smile and nod to their face.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I talk bad about somebody, it's because I'm talking about a lack of accountability that person or those people are like deny or dismiss because they think they're above the law, or because I'm not talking trash about them. It's not slander.
No, we're not.
It's literally accountability. Now, there's also a law in Judaism that when somebody does something that hurts or embarrasses or humiliates somebody who did nothing wrong, you're supposed to say something, speak up, even if you have to pull the person aside and talk to them and say that was wrong, and try to explain to them. Now, they say also, according to Judaism, if you don't do that and you stay silent when somebody else is being humiliated or bullied or hurt, then you are just as bad, if not worse, than the person who did it. And then But thing is, if you take somebody aside and talk to them in private, it doesn't register with them. They can't process their own accountability. So you have to speak up about it in public or in front, like where you have to, like, the only way for it to register with them is for them to worry about their own credibility or their own accountability by them being called out in public. And like, because otherwise they're not going to change their ways. I've been through this many times. You pull somebody aside. If you don't do it in front of people or call them out in front of people, they're not gonna change. They're not gonna care. The fear. People should not change because of their fear. They should change because it's the right thing to do. They shouldn't change because fear of their image. They should. If you do something wrong, make it right. Apologize. At least try. Make an effort. But if you're not gonna do that, don't continue to do it and act like you're above the law and that you're entitled and that you're then don't play victim when your criminality, the threat you put to other people's safety and well-being is placed in for the world to see. That's not lashon hara. That's literally calling out accountability. But the thing is that a lot of people, like, it doesn't take, like, when I do something wrong, like I said, I feel remorse immediately. I hate people. I hate seeing people in pain. I hate seeing people, like, emotional for something I did or said. But like, some people could care less after they're humiliated or after they broke a law or after they put somebody's well-being at risk. They could care less because they're privileged or they're taught a narcissistic or self-superior lifestyle, or it frustrates me. And and when I'm calling this out to the same people who silence me or guilted me for liking movies, this movie or that movie, or liking this, or like because I like jokes, because one of the ways I deal with my Tourette's is telling jokes. One of the ways I deal with my shit, part of my Tourette's, no, I'm just kidding, it's telling jokes to make people laugh. And I get guilted for sometimes telling jokes when, like, you know what? It's I didn't do anything wrong. I'm saying jokes to make people laugh. You're not in the mood for it, tell me. But don't give me attitude because I made a joke that is not just non-offensive, but was intended to make you laugh. Like, you're literally doing the same thing you did because I liked a movie, because I like this drink, because I like this food. Like, it's like the most condescending. I've lived such a condescending life, meaning I've been so condescended and degraded by so many people in my life, my family and friends that I love, and so many of them cannot, like, have such an issue with acknowledging guilt or their own, and that will forever, even if I forgive it, it will forever haunt me, because, like, you know what? If I have to, and I was an excessive apologizer my entire life. I apologized for stuff that wasn't my fault. I apologized for apologizing. I was guilted for other people's misdeeds, and then when I did something wrong, it was magnified, and then when somebody else did something wrong, it was dismissed, and then I was guilted because of my reaction to their misdeeds, and then, like, it just never ends, and it takes a toll on your soul, and it's and your brain, of course,
Traumatic.
and your heart, but it affects your confidence. And people, listen, I know a lot of very successful people, a lot of people in the film industry, models, actors. You see even them, like famous pop stars have talked about it. Some of them dealt with it and unfortunately took their own life because of stuff that's been in their life that they grew up with. And, you know, a lot of people who I'm sure were dear to them took a toll on the pain that they were caused. And it's something that a lot of people will never know the damage they've done. Listen, I'm sure there are things I've said that, like, whether it be misinterpreted or done or misinterpreted or not, is has it had an impact on people. But you know what? I try to make things right, and I notice when I upset somebody. And some people could care less. Some people don't have the sight to see what they've done to somebody. Some people are too wrapped up in other things. And I transform my pain into jokes or music or watching or movies or creativity, or sometimes it's my mind spirals for worse and I dwell on things and I'm laying in bed for hours on end, dwelling and feeling depressed and anxiety. And it's Tourette's is just the tip of the Goldberg, as I say. But like collecting the horror stuff and meeting celebrities and becoming good friends with some of my favorite filmmakers and directors and actors has become a blessing. And those celebrity events, whether it be conventions or just film festivals I work with, people in the film industry, are becoming my home away from home. Or going to California, where I have friends in the industry there and family who I barely ever see, old and young. I have a lot of homes away from home. In some areas, I feel more at home than in my own home. And,
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I understand that completely because I'm the same way. Sometimes I go out into the woods because I call it my no trauma allowed. This is a place I feel safe. I feel safe with the bears. We just chill. And that had taught me a couple years ago when a bear came and sat in front of me because, everybody would tell me I'm a certain way and no good or whatever. So I believed it. I was fighting a mirage of me, that I didn't even know existed when the whole town was being told something different than what I was, right? So I came to believe that. And then when the bear sat in front of me, peace came over me, right? And I was like, what? And so what it taught me was that he taught me who I was. If I was a scary person or a person that had no worth or anything like that, he would have killed me. Like he would have legit killed me. But instead, he sat there and he wanted me in his environment. And we did photography, and I have the picture on my wall. You know what I mean? So
it's amazing. I'd love to see it at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I go out into the woods and the animals really do teach me, even when they come, when I'm down and out. Somehow they're always at my house where I see one and it's like a whole nother energy build. I was like, oh yes, okay. So they always know and they stay until I'm ready. Like it could be days and stuff like that. So I'll hang out with them, do the photography. It's a therapy for me.
Yeah, I truly believe animals can feel empathy and sympathy where a lot of people can't. They could sense it.
Yeah.
Dogs especially, but I have a feeling a lot more animals than we realize can sense, could feel sympathy and empathy, and sense that's when somebody's broken or feeling broken. Like I'll say regarding that, sometimes being broken and feeling broken or feeling alone and being alone are different things, because just because we feel some way doesn't mean we are some way.
Right. I'm
and
just totally shattered.
Yeah,
like,
what I'm saying, right?
Trying to piece together, and I'm like held up by a duct tape, if that. Like just trying to heal.
You can also feel shattered and not be shattered. But I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not what you're one or the other. I'm saying a lot of people are so depressed or down that they are so lost in their emotions that they don't know how full their heart is or how special they are. And sometimes being broken or shattered or alone helps us reach certain levels that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Yeah, no, I feel like something I learned over the years too, during all my medical issues, physical as well. And when I was in school for psychology, and then I had child behavioral health as well. And there was a thing where our teacher was like, so Write something in the journal about what you're angry about. I was like, great. Now I had a whole week to figure out what I'm angry about. And then I figured out I was angry at everything. Why did I have all these surgeries? There should have been no reason. You know what I mean? Just all these things in the past. But I found that the trauma that we put on a person throughout the years causes the nervous system to be destroyed. And personally, and I had to learn that on my own because personally I have a destroyed nervous system. So I have to have high-end drugs. Like I'm not going to say them on here because it just, in order for my nervous system to calm down. So all the anxiety, the depression, like every beat down caused this. And I was like, I'm so angry that this happened, that nobody took the time to like nurture the situation, right, as a kid. But yet I'm expected to do this. I'm absolutely okay with doing this for other people, right? That's, nobody should go through and be shattered and broken down, beat to high heavens, you know, or whatever, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of that. Like, man, we should never put that on a child ever, or a person in general. So I'm very passionate about that. But I always wanted to protect the nervous system of a person because that really, it feels like fireworks go off every 2 seconds, you know, and just random. It's not even and so I don't know if I'm going to be angry. I don't know if I'm going to be jolted into something different or whatever, PTSD somewhere along the way. I'm up all night or whatever it is. It's tiring. Like, but then people want to take, but yet never give to help heal that. And that's why I was like, that's why I said I'm kind of shattered. Like, look, like I can't do it no more. And then they get mad about me not being able to give anymore. Like, I don't have anything to give. What the heck do you think I'm trying to do? Right? You know, like it's a mess.
It's easier for people to project than take accountability. And the thing is that a lot of and I've learned this. Well, I said I learned this the hard way because I've taken the hard path my entire life. That sometimes the more difficult path is the right path, and the easier path is the wrong path. And most people take the easier path because it's more convenient.
Yeah.
And because it makes them feel stronger or less, or because it helps protect their ego. And those people will call you every name in the book that you know that they are. And nobody should be guilted by somebody who's like, nobody should be guilted for being authentic by somebody who was everything that is responsible for breaking you, or had a hand in breaking you, or had a hand in shattering you. I say that to you, and I said it to myself, and I said it to everybody who ever dealt with, has been in our situation in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. I just want to know how long we have until, because I don't want to. I know you have another show, and I don't want to take away your time. How much longer do we have?
Oh yeah, we're good. You're good for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I just wanted to thank you for having me on. I guess I really had to let this all out. You know, sometimes, you know, it's weird because like most people, like I have trouble speaking publicly when people are in front of me. But, like when I'm speaking on a public platform where it's virtual, I have no problem spilling my heart out. But if people were in front of me, I would tense up.
Oh, I get that both ways. This is the first time I really came out and spoke like this, because I'm usually the one that has to be the consoler versus, you know, like, oh, well, I want to speak too. Not saying that.
But I'm glad you did, because you know you're not alone, and I know I'm reminded that I'm not alone, and I'm glad. I hope something I said has resonated with you in a good way, and I'm sure you have your outlets, And I hope you know, you find peace in ways that a lot of people don't. And I hope I do too. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
and there's nothing is one thing to doubt that you can succeed, or you know, in the field you want, or get the dream job you want, which I've been doubted and I've doubted myself. But it's also a scary thing to doubt that you'll ever find peace in life. So I don't want you to doubt that. Well, I mean, obviously it's easier said than done, but don't think that, or at least try not to think that or doubt yourself that there'll be a point where you'll just be finally happy. You know, I like there are two things I fear more than death, and that's being alone and being unhappy. And feeling both of those at the same time is, there's not a word for it. Terrifying is not enough word for it. Scary is not enough word for it. Heartbreaking, heart-shattering is not a strong enough word for that. So as long as you're, never, but I'm not alone and I'm not unhappy. There are times I'm unhappy, but I'm not an unhappy person. I just deal with unhappiness. I'm not a
Mm,
lost person. I just deal with feeling lost. I'm not a lonely person. I just deal with feeling lonely. Like, remember, there's the feeling and then there's the extreme. And we, as long as we're not at the extremes, we're good. And even if we are, we're never truly lost. The great thing about being lost is you could be found. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And there was a show called Penny Dreadful that had a great quote between two broken souls, and they said, one said to the other, may the lost souls be found. And I'll never forget that. So,
May
yeah.
the lost souls be found. Wow.
Even
That's
if you're
pretty
not a
powerful.
religious or spiritual person, your soul could be just like somebody's. It doesn't have to be a religious or spiritual thing. When you mention the word soul, people don't have to take it as a religious or spiritual thing. Soul could just mean a person that's pure, or purer than many, and just wants unadulterated, innocent happiness in a world where they've been broken many times over.
Mm. So, what advice going through? What advice would you give to teachers and parents and people who are caregivers of people, kids and adults, that are going through, that they can do better and add to their
So
compassion?
it's funny because there are people that I know that I like. My advice is to have patience with people. There are people I personally don't have patience with, but that's because I gave them so much patience before, like, losing my patience with them. And it has nothing to do
Right.
with their disability, just the way they treated me. But when it comes to something innocent, like somebody's interests, or somebody's dreams, or somebody's hobby, or somebody's favorite, obviously you don't want to teach junk food, but like if somebody likes something that isn't hurting them, that you might be more judgmental of because that's the father or mother figure you are, that's the parent figure you are, give have more patience, give more leeway. Don't be condescending. You could, I used to say I don't like people who judge, but we all judge. And I'm all for judging. But once you go to get to judging to condescending, because I will judge people for how they hurt and treat others, or how they'll be careless with well-being in human life and with the safety of people around them. But if somebody's doing something or likes something or has an interest in something or is looking up to something that you might disagree with, but doesn't hurt or hasn't hurt anybody, listen, it's what, I'm all for criticizing people for who they support in certain things, because there are politicians and people out there who've done terrible things, and you could
Hmm.
inform them and call them out on stuff, especially when they've said this is bad and then to support somebody who does something that they said is bad. But when it comes to like a movie or a genre of movies or a type of music, like, or a video game, like, there are parents that support something, who support things that are worse than the video games they claimed cause violence, or the movies they claimed turn kids' brains into mush. Like, I find my ability to feel like I found like growing up on film, and I haven't read a full book. I've read books, but I haven't finished an entire book in well over a decade, and over probably 15 years. But you know what? I still read. I still know how to read. I'm very well read. I'm writing a book for the last 12 years. When I watch a movie, I look at the deeper meaning. I look at the themes. I acknowledge the characters, the plot, what drives the characters, the cinematography, every little detail, both from a filmmaker's perspective or creative perspective or an artistic perspective, and from like an entertainment perspective. I acknowledge it. I observe it. I delve into it and study it, because cinema gives people that depth, and people have learned to speak an entire language simply from watching a movie or movies or television. And I think television and movies gets a bad rap from a lot of people who are all about books. And yes, books are great. And I think everybody should read. I don't read entire books, but I still read. I read articles. I read essays written or like segments written by people. I read, a lot of informative stuff. And I actually, a dear friend of mine has a book coming out. This is probably going to be the first book I've read in 15 years. But I want to read this book that my friend wrote, just like I want to finish my books. I want other people to read it. And I read a lot, but I haven't read an entire book in years. But you know what? I'm not ashamed of it. And honestly, you could tell I'm very well read. I'm very well spoken. Yes, I slur my words sometimes, but that's because sometimes I talk too fast, or sometimes like I haven't gathered my thoughts completely before I speak. But people are too quick to judge, and I'm okay with judging, but before you judge, give it some time. And and first impressions are often poorly approached, are poorly reacted to. They say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. That's not always necessarily true. And sometimes first impressions are gaslit by the wrong people or by the wrong voices. And we have to be more open to interpretation. We have to be more accepting and understanding. We have to You don't have to understand somebody to accept them. You could accept something without understanding something. You could accept somebody without understanding their lifestyle, but don't condescend them because you don't agree with it. Now, if what their lifestyle does is toxic and hurts or has hurt, or they use their voice to hurt people for simple differences, then speak out. But don't condescend somebody for liking something that you think, or that you know for a fact. Don't condescend somebody that you don't know it for a fact is bad or good. You decide it because of first impressions, or because of what you heard from select voices without actually knowing. There could be a lot of people. There could be and I learned this a lot in movies about human nature. Like literally, like I don't know if you ever watched Stranger Things, but in the 4th season, there was a character who was a hero who sacrificed his life for a town that hated him. He sacrificed his life to save the town that wanted him dead because they thought he was part of a religious cult. But he actually was the one helping fight the evil in this show, and everybody wants him found and locked up or worse. Yet he saved an entire town from death. or a lot of the people in that town from death. So a lot of people are often misjudged because what something may seem like, and their true nature is never acknowledged or accepted, understood or appreciated, or never makes it to light. Never comes to light because the wrong people get a voice, and the wrong people inform people who could use their voice and their ability to accept and understand, and they join in that voice of condescension. So
Right.
don't be
Yeah.
that condescending voice. Don't be that hateful voice. Don't be that racist voice. Don't be that bigoted voice. You know, if you're about accountability and justice, speak up about it. But accountability and justice are not the same as hate, or not the same as condescension. And people often because people who have often been and I understand people who have been victimized or victims make that often don't make a difference, find a difference in the two. But you know what? Sometimes people victimize themselves too much, and it doesn't, and it's not good. It's not good for your image either. And you end up victimizing yourself in areas where you should have held yourself accountable, and you should have apologized, or you should have listened to a boy or a girl who needed somebody to talk to, or who didn't have their voice heard. And I know what it's like to not be heard. And now that, and after years of not being heard or not speaking up, now that I'm speaking up, I'm shut down because my voice doesn't suit the narrative.
Exactly.
And I don't want other generations of kids to deal with that. I don't want
absolutely right. And this right here is exactly why, one of the main reasons why the Oil Runners was pretty much formed was because of the voice. I was shut down as the voice, or my voice was shut, and it hurts. And you said a lot there. Your voice matters, and that next generation needs to hear it. The older folks may not hear it, we all know that one, but we hope that they do, but the next generation, the kids, placing all that trauma on a child should never happen. Honest to God, I can't fathom a child that has to go through that, and what we go through, and what that stuff that we shouldn't have needed to go through. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, we were born with some stuff or whatever, but yeah, we could have still had a nurturing family, or nurturing friends, nurturing teachers, or whatever it is.
I don't want to say I had a nurturing family. Just I was misjudged a lot. I'm not saying no. I love my family. They're great.
I'm just putting that in an all around nurturing family, nurturing, or
I'm very blessed with my family. I just there are things that could have been done in a different manner, differently.
Yeah.
And I wish they were, but you can't go back in time. So, I gotta continue moving forward and try to mend things from a point of in a realistic manner. And it's something obviously harder said than done.
So hard. Yeah. Especially when I have a lot of trust issues at this point.
Yeah.
Working through that, but so yeah, it's like, dag nabbit, I should be able to want to be married and want to do this and want to do. I'm like, look, I'll just stay by myself. I don't even want to go to Costco. Somebody else can do that for me. I take meds to go into Costco. Like, I don't like that kind of a situation.
I'll agree with you in that. I don't like loneliness, but I no longer want to get married. It for a number of reasons, but I'm not going to go into that. But a lot of things have taken away my interest in that, and it's a shame. I wish I still wanted that, but I don't. I wish I want it, but I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, totally understandable. Like, I'm trying to get to that point. But every time I try, something shows me Like I give it a lot. You know what I mean? I give it a true chance. It doesn't matter if it's marriage or whatever it is. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try this. I'm open. All right.
Yeah.
And then something shows me, oh yeah, that's literally why I'm cool. I'm not lonely. I'm good. Like, but I'm just trying to get out of that mindset. Like I just need to.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to be out there.
after this podcast, if you ever need to talk, you can reach out. Feel free to reach out if you ever need to talk, like to vent about stuff, or just if you want to just talk about stuff. I'm happy to listen. You're not the only friend I've offered this to. I have friends who have Tourette's who I do it to. I offer it to. I have friends who just deal with PTSD. I have friends who've dealt with abuse, from whether it be a partner or their family or both. So yeah, you could always reach out if you need a friend. I'm just letting you know. Even from Alaska, I'm happy to lend an ear. You know, I know you're in Alaska, so like, and I'm all the way on the other side of the country. Like, if you ever need
the opposite.
literally the opposite side. Yeah, like you're not even in the 3,000 miles to California distance. You're like 4,000 or something, or 35.
Yeah, I think we're 15, 16, maybe 18 hours away on a plane. So I know Pennsylvania is about 14, 15. And New York
miles?
No, hours on a plane. That flight from Pennsylvania to Alaska and back. Well, that is a 14, 15-hour trip.
Pennsylvania to New York is probably like maybe not even a full hour from New York flight. If because I'm saying like Newark.
Oh yeah,
because Newark is Jersey.
And you got Philly too, so it's like all that. It's like a 45-minute trip to Philly at least.
A drive to Cherry Hill, which is right on the border of Philly, is like 2.5 hours. So I assume a flight from Pennsylvania to New York is no more than an hour.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of miss flying now that I can't fly.
Why can't you fly?
Like, dang.
Why can't you fly?
My medical issues. I have so many medical issues, and so like last year, I actually ended up in the hospital because I deal with the Iditarod, and if I miss the Iditarod, I am so upset. Like that's the one photography thing I love to do. I can't miss it, right? And I work the Iditarod as well, so I had so much stomach pain, and they couldn't figure out what in the world it was, and I actually passed out. And the hospital's across the street, so like it's like 4 minutes to get there of a drive. But I passed out in the hospital, and my doctors was like, "Yep, nope," because I have a neurologist, I have a spine doctor.
Is this a
neck doctor?
Don't fly ever again?
Well, they're working on getting me to fly.
Okay, good.
If I fly, because I pass, that pain comes random, and so they still can't figure that out. So if I'm out in a different state, because I have a whole huge system of doctors, I mean surgeons and all that stuff. This is my 7th surgery in 4 years. I'm still going. So
okay.
Yeah, I'll be having another one. I'll have one in 23 days, and then for my spine, and then my shoulder will have in May. I get to choose my date for that. I need to go to school first on my spring classes. I can't be doing all that during class. But so that'll be number 8. And I've had stomach surgeries, I've had hand surgeries, I've had 2 neck surgeries in the last one. Oh yeah, it's been fun. So the flight, I was about to go see my kids and my dad and everybody in Pennsylvania, and then go to Washington State, and then to see my brother in Colorado Springs. And I paid all that money. The one time I've got it, like I got none of that back besides the $500 for the stupid Airbnb. It was crap. So I missed every flight. Well, I couldn't go fly, and they kind of banned me from flying for a while, just in case, because the doctors don't know what to do on the other side. So over here it's closer to here. So I miss flying at this point. But I can't complain because I'm in a state where it's not boring.
Yeah,
least
yeah.
to say, so I can at least go
I've never
out
been to
and
Alaska, but I have family who's been there.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think.
a lot of people haven't been to Alaska think it's all ice. And
Oh, it is right now, but
it's sort of like how people think Australia is all the outback, like the whole continent is the
oh,
outback. It's like a lot of people have this misconception of it.
Mr. Steve Irwin made that possible for us. God rest his soul. But
And
I,
Looney Tunes with the Tasmanian Devil, like that.
oh
Australia's
yeah,
always like, yeah.
yep, yeah, Alaska. Yeah, it's all ice now, but in the summer it's absolutely gorgeous. It's even gorgeous in the winter. I mean, I can't complain about that. Now I got that ugly snow and that ugly cold that you guys get in New York and all that stuff, like that.
The black snow with all the dirt
Yeah,
in it.
that's yep. At the ends, but in the beginning, I absolutely love the first week of snow, like the first full week of snow, because it's so pure looking. Nobody touched it in the woods or on the trails and all that stuff. And the when the sun and the blue skies, it's absolutely like a baby blue sky. That's
Yeah.
when it's baby blue sky. That's it's cold. It's just negative temperatures or just cold. You just want it to snow. But the sun glistens and the sun lies to us, in the middle of winter because it's all like, oh yeah, we'll shine down on you, and bam, frozen. So when the sun's not here, it's warm. So okay, I give up.
That's how I feel with like sun showers. Like why is it raining if the sun's out? This feels so like I'm not one of the weather I dislike the most is rain. So when the sun is
Yes.
out and there's heavy rain, it's like makes me frustrated because like why can't the weather make up its mind? But like
Right.
it's like just depressing. It's literally the most beautiful sunshine, but it has to rain at the same time.
Exactly. It, we we got that. We got all the seasons in 5 minutes.
That's New York. That's New York. You
Yeah.
get like AM is winter, PM is spring.
Yep.
Midday is spring, then there's summer, and then there's fall and winter again. Like
Yeah, we
every
don't know
day is
what to
like
wear.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
this is me.
yeah.
This is me in the negative degree weather at this point. Just put a pair of gloves
It
on
was
and
like 36 degrees last night, and I was freezing. But like then I constantly get warm, and then I get cold, and then I get depending on where you are, you'll feel like heated, but at the same time you're chilly.
Yep.
And it's like
Yep.
it's just crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm holding you up.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine.
Is there anything
No.
else I should end with, or
You know what?
I didn't really
So
talk
like,
about my podcast, but
oh
I'll mention.
yeah. Let's do your podcast.
I host a podcast called Cynicism on the Indie Escape Network. Like I said, I got to know a lot of filmmakers and directors and actors I grew up loving, so I've had some of them on my podcast. The Indie Escape Network is the network on YouTube, and my show, that's the channel, the Indie Escape Network, and the show my name of my show is Cymbalistic Cynicism. It's a play on my name, Cymbalista. So I've had a lot of different actors and filmmakers on that show, and I plan to have more episodes soon. As you see, my Instagram, my Facebook. Please feel free to follow me. You could friend me on Facebook. I don't have a follow option because I deal with a lot of fake accounts and stalkers who screw with me on social media. I constantly have to check my social media to make sure that like people are not using fake accounts to trash talk me and mess with me and sabotage my posts. So it's frustrating. I deal with I had friends who like hacked my friends' Facebooks and went on my Facebook when they're at my house, former friends, and posted stuff that was not allowed on Facebook and almost got me in trouble. And I've had people who've cursed me out and or try to hack my Facebook through other stuff or just make fake accounts and mess with me. And Some people just get off on that stuff, and I will never understand how people get off from messing with other people, messing with people. If that says something about them, not us. But that's why I have to. My Facebook, I don't do a follow. Instagram, I do, but I keep tabs on everything because I have to. Because otherwise, a lot of trash gets thrown around on my pages. So yeah. And and listen, you can follow my progress on these pages. My IMDb page. You can type in Gabe or Gabriel; it'll bring up the same page. I recently got IMDb Pro again, so I can merge. There were three different pages with my name. One was Gabe, one was Gabriel, one was Gabriel 2. So I had to merge all the pages to make sure that all my work was in one place. It still has to be updated completely. And follow my story. I would love for more people to check out my book once it's done. If I could help a single person with the message in my book, it would mean the world to me, and that would be enough for me. Yes, who doesn't want fame and fortune? But like, that's not my goal with the book. Yes, I want to become so successful with my working in the film industry, but it's not that I will never change who I am because of that. But my book is more to help people than to become like well known because of it. But I hope the book makes a difference in some people's lives, because I know what it's like to feel alone. I know people would know what it's like to feel alone, and like I said, I fear loneliness and unhappiness more than losing my own life. So when people feel that way, to stay silent or to not say something or to try to offer an ear would be a careless and ignorant thing on my part. So I try to do that all the time. So yeah.
All right. So would you say that was like your legacy that you would love to leave on the earth then?
It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's actually on my Facebook, my main quote. It's from a philosopher, but I heard the quote from Hannibal Lecter on a TV show where Hannibal Lecter is very philosophical and psychological, and the quote is, "What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others lives beyond us." And I feel that we can do things to make ourselves happy, but what we do for others truly is what's carried on after we die, and what makes an impact after we die, whether it be our legacy be in a book, be in a movie, whether it be both, whether it be like an article, whether it be something we said to somebody that gave them hope or strength. And there are people, and there's actually, I'll say one last thing that I neglected to say, and I really should. There's a woman that I was introduced to through one of my favorite actresses, whose son was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at age 9 in 2015. And she asked me just simple advice about medications and treatments for Tourette's for doctors. And after I texted her that, she texted me, "I'm so glad I met you, because I know my son could live a full and happy life." And I broke down in tears. And that line that she texted me, knowing that I made that difference in her son's life, saved my life when I wanted to take my own life. So, and I am grateful for her in ways that I can never, that like, no matter what. And now her and her son and me and her son like exchange like puns and jokes, and we make each other laugh, and and we're grateful for each other, and I'm grateful for her, and I'm grateful to the actors who connected us, because in doing so, we got each other through very difficult times. And these are people I've only hung out with twice when I went to LA, but I've been in touch with for 9 years, and they're people I owe my life to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I think we're going to end on that high note.
Yeah.
That is amazing, and that's what it's about, really.
Yeah.
Touching that one life, and it touches us too. We're not going through for us, we're going through for other people, and to be able to share what we know with the others and how we went through. The question is how, being a peer support and all that, because it's it just makes a difference, because I always wanted to know how did you get through? Like, I'm just like, I don't want the book
I surprise
knowledge.
myself sometimes.
Yeah.
I surprise the hell out of myself. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Well, we thank you for coming on the show.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
And
This session, this is felt like a therapy session that helped me more than just about any therapy session ever did.
yeah, I agree. I'm glad that you were able to come out and speak about that, and it made you feel safe enough to do that. Because I mean, a lot of people don't feel safe, not with me or whatever, but it's hard for people to come out and speak.
Yeah.
But I definitely know it'll at least touch one person, and it could be somebody all the way across the world that we don't even know, who's down and out, and they may not ever say something, but we definitely know it'll touch their hearts, and to keep them alive, at least, to have another day of hope, to come forth and to be the best version of themselves that they were created to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with a slogan for, myself technically, but now I've been using it, is finding, we always have to find our ability and our disability. Everybody was born with some kind of a gift or something. I've had questions, but we just have to find that gift within and try to hone in on that. And really, that's our core, what we need to bring out. So whether you're in a wheelchair or just all in whatever disability there is, we have a gift to do and to share and leave on this earth. So thank you for the story, and definitely will want you back on.
Thank you.
This right here. Yeah, definitely right here, especially with the mental health and all that stuff. I would love to have you on a panel, and really have people really talk like how we did, and just really, have people come on and just really interact on that.
Let me know when you plan on doing it, and let me know when you plan on doing it. I would love to be part of that.
Yeah, well, anytime, whoever wants to come on, or even we could still do it. And teaching about the mental health and doing different things, and whoever wants to come on comes on. We talk. We just do exactly what we did here. On that could be a segment, absolutely. To spin off on a segment and on the broadcast, and just keep doing that. And I believe that you have a powerful gift on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to end on that note, and just make sure you stay on. And we thank all the listeners for listening, and we will be back, and we will see you guys later.